know bear traps, right? Like those huge traps that are meant to literally stop a bear in its tracks. Enormous sharp metal teeth slamming down onto the meat of whatever unfortunate thing happens to step upon it. These things would decimate a person wandering into one if they were even partially capable of doing the bear stopping. Many larger bear traps in real life weigh 50 pounds or more. This hunting trap doesn't weigh that much. This weighs on the lower end of those traps. So get that corrupted polar bear stopping monstrosity out of your head. Instead, just think like a black bear, CR 1/2 instead of CR 2 for the polar bear. Hello everyone, I'm Tony, your 6-2-bit hero, and this video is a continuation of a series. If you'd like to know more about what the series is and how the ratings work, feel free to check out the first video in the playlist. Does the hunting trap do what a hunting trap does? Does it stop a person, or a bear, or a goblin hexer, or a vampire spawn? Let's find out together. And by let's find out together, I mean you continue watching the video. I already scripted it and edited it and everything. You're seeing it, so I already did that. Anyway, let's get into it. Costs 5 gold pieces, weighs a whopping 25 pounds. This one might even get the non-stickler DMs wondering how you're carrying it. That's a heavy trap. It's not the 50-pound trap I mentioned before, but that's a heavy, heavy trap. To put it in perspective, the hunting trap weighs more than the heaviest weapons in the player's handbook. Weapons that literally have the heavy property and require 13 strength to be able to swing them without disadvantage. Heavy. As a utilize action, you can set a hunting trap, which is a sawtooth steel ring that snaps shut when a creature steps on a pressure plate in the center. The trap is affixed by a heavy chain to an immobile object, such as a tree or a spike driven into the ground. A creature that steps on the plate must succeed on a DC 13 dexterity saving throw or take 1d4 piercing damage and have its speed reduced to 0 until the start of its next turn. Thereafter, until the creature breaks free of the trap, its movement is limited by the length of the chain, typically 3 feet. A creature can use its action to make a DC 13 strength athletics check, freeing itself or another creature within its reach on a success. Each failed check deals 1 piercing damage to the trapped creature. Another item that sets speed to 0. That's fun stuff, and no size restriction. This thing could stop the gargantuan dragon turtle. The dragon turtle who adds nothing to dex, by the way. The hunting trap is a lot more cumbersome than something like caltrops. This thing weighs 25 pounds, taking up valuable encumbrance real estate. Thief rogues can use fast things to set this as a bonus action. Fast hands is right, because this is a crazy setup to do with the bonus action, but I'm not complaining. The saving throw is only a DC 13 dex save. It does 1d4 damage, not gonna be super important in most cases, and it's only a DC 13 athletics check to break out. Those aren't horribly low, but that won't scale very well as you level up. The big winner here is that the DC 13 athletics check requires an action to attempt to escape. And oddly enough, it actually does damage if you fail that athletics check. Only 1, but still. And if you failed, you have to use another action on your next turn as well. Another item that's better with tight corridors and knowledge ahead of time. For example, you could set this at an obvious entrance to your camp when you're in a forest sleeping for some extra security or something. But you're not likely gonna slide this out as an action and catch anyone in the middle of a fight. Thief Rogue, maybe as you round a corner. Again, an insane series of maneuvers to imagine as a bonus action. There's not a lot to this though. It doesn't impose any sort of condition to give you advantage on something, which strikes me as kind of odd in this case, just because of the visual. Imagining this thing latched onto somebody's leg seems bad. Also, another item that's written real weird. This probably should have had a more significant update for the 2024 book. The entry says it sets the creature's speed to 0 until the start of its next turn. Then on its next turn, instead of still having 0 feet of movement, it mentions it can sort of move maybe 3 feet. I know that's so if you escape, you can move on that turn, but it's just kind of weird. Couldn't you have said while you're trapped, your speed is 0? Whatever. It also has the same problems caltrops did in terms of flying enemies and only being on a 5-foot square. Like the caltrops and ball bearings, you'll need to plan ahead for this to be effective. The real advantage it has over something like those items is the full action required to escape. I know I've mentioned that already, but in most situations where you want to stop an opponent and not be the thing stopping them, well, let's see how we compare it to those other items later. Ziggy is down the core of a tree, something like a well. There's a set of dragon bones here that don't react to any poking or prodding, and a glowing magical item in the center of this room. Ziggy decides to grab the item, and some bugs show up and poof around some magical light dust to ruin his day. He rolls first on initiative, but doesn't want to attack those bugs. They haven't been immediately hostile, so he sets the hunting trap under the bones of the dead dragon. Note, Ziggy is incredibly paranoid, and dragons are specifically super dangerous in this campaign. And then he hides. Turns out the magical light dust brings the dragon to life later in initiative, and on the large-sized dragon's turn, he stands up and goes to move and immediately gets caught by the hunting trap, failing the saving throw and taking a devastating maximum roll on damage. The lack of mobility didn't do much because the party barbarian was standing right next to the bones when it happened. The barbarian ended up moving away, but on the dragon's turn, it had to use its action to escape, which it did. In pretty much any level of play, removing a full action from an opponent is huge, and we ended up victorious. I'm not gonna lie, it felt really cool in the moment. It didn't last long at all, but it didn't need to. As you all likely know already, action economy is king. For the Thief Rogue, I think we get 3 stars. I was gonna rate this lower, but taking an action away is way better than the benefits of caltrops and especially ball bearings. Being able to do this as a bonus action does mean it's possible for the Thief Rogue to put this out mid-combat. Have your martial friend use his push mastery to knock somebody into this. If they fail their save, a big if as you move into the higher tiers of play, that's actually excellent. All other characters, the hunting trap gets 2 stars. Mechanically, certainly better than the ball bearings. I know I gave those 2 stars as well, but that was for other reasons. You can check out those reasons in the ball bearings video, link somewhere. Ultimately, caltrops exist. If you want to stop somebody from afar, that's probably your tool. They're too cheap. And you also have another cheap option in the net. DC 13 dex save is fine. DC 13 athletics check to get out, fine. But they don't get any higher. Unfortunately, this item is super cool thematically, but it's pretty much just worse and way heavier than other stopping options. You're not throwing this out like a net. You're not carrying as many of these as you could with caltrops, and it doesn't cover as much space as the ball bearings. You may find this useful once or twice in a campaign, and if you do, it's gonna feel awesome, because it sure did for me. Taking somebody's action is amazing, but I mentioned earlier that even DMs that don't really care about hard tracking encumbrance may still raise an eyebrow on this one. 24 pounds of chain and metal is a lot. So much that you probably don't even want this in your inventory at all, unless you like the flavor enough. And for some of you rangers out there, that's all you'll need to put this on your sheet. Those of you that still will, legends. It isn't nearly bad enough to say you should completely ignore it forever if it sounds fun and flavorful for your build. So there you have it. Does it stop the Goblin Hexer or the Vampire Spawn or the Bear? Kinda, yeah, if they roll poorly in your lower levels of play, but they're not likely gonna stay in it for long. It's kinda bad, but it takes an action away if they fail, so also kinda good. This one is tricky. It would honestly be better if it just weighed less. The fact that I can buy 5 bags of caltrops for the price of this is not great for the hunting trap. And I can carry 12 bags of caltrops before I almost match this thing's weight. That's pretty crazy, right? Honestly, I think for what this is, it needs a little buff to be generally usable. I want to stop that polar bear, really stop it. It needs some homebrew. We need to do some fixing. Keep an eye out on the channel for some homebrew item fixes. They'll be in a future video. Alchemist Fire, ball bearings, hunting trap. We'll get to work. In addition, I'm currently working on a video where I'll create mechanics for mundane items that people use commonly, but don't actually have mechanical rules for. Things like using a bag of flour to find an invisible creature, for example. I'm excited about that one. If you've made it this far and you haven't subscribed, come on, we're right at the end, just do it. Like the video, leave a comment, do all those fun YouTube things. Click on the related video that'll pop up in just a moment. Thanks for watching, everybody. Do good, be good. Bye-bye.